Hello, my friends. Welcome back to the ThePCelitist. My name is Woodsie.
My name is Shepherd.
And times they are a changin'. You know that song?
Yes. It's a Coolio song, right?
I think it is.
What are we talking about today?
Today we're talking about Valve and all their craziness.
Mm-hmm.
They've been working over there.
They got some things coming out soon.
They do.
They have an array of devices,
Right.
an operating system,
Yeah.
and a controller.
And a controller. And a box that you call the Steam box, but anyone can build one.
Right.
Yeah, I'm not sure exactly how that works, but I guess.
And we've provided a link to the website. There are 3 different pages talking about the devices, the OS, and the controller. If you haven't seen any information on this yet, stop right now and go check it out.
And get out of the rock you've been living under.
Yes.
They're probably thinking right now, like, guys, this happened like 3 weeks ago.
Yeah, well, I know. We're just deciding to talk about it now. Side note, by the way, part of the reason really, why we've had a little bit of a hiatus is I just got back from my honeymoon.
Good job,
Shepherd got married at the end of September.
He got one.
And took Mrs. Shepherd to Ireland. So if any of you, I know we have subscribers in 50-some countries. I don't know how many of you actually listen on a regular basis. If any of you are based in Ireland, I was there. I just didn't announce it because we know how famous we are and I didn't want to get mobbed.
And you were trying to find a good sandwich.
Yes, a good corned beef sandwich. Did not find one. But this is all
beside the point.
All beside the point. Today we're talking about Steam.
Right.
Kick us off.
Okay, so they announced they separated out throughout the week, and I think most people were just angry at first that there was no Half-Life 3 announcement. Which I have my own thoughts on that, which we could get to later, because I'm a huge Half-Life fan. But, so now they're saying, okay, this is what we're going to do. We have this Steam box, these specs for a Steam box. We're going to have a beta of these things. We're going to give them out to people. It's going to have its own Steam OS that's based on Linux. It's going to run all our games, and they're going up, like, directly competing with the Leviathan of Microsoft, which is an interesting...
Yeah, and they don't hide the fact, this is going into your living room.
Right.
They are in the market to gain control of your living room, just like Microsoft is.
Let me explain to you and everyone out there why you do this with me. Because I texted another friend of ours, a mutual acquaintance of ours, and I said, so what do you think of the new Steam OS and the Steam box? And he said, it's a PC console. That was the extent of his thoughts, and I just said, you're not the guy to have a discussion with.
Scintillating.
Right. And they have their own controller, which
do.
is very interesting because it has weird touchpads.
Trackpads, yeah.
Trackpads, which seems versatile if it works, and it's interesting.
Yes.
But first, let's start with the OS. Okay. Why do you think they decided to just directly go after Microsoft?
Well, I think that we all kind of saw what was happening when Microsoft started wanting to shove even the 360 into people's living rooms and have it start to be the first of gaining a foothold into being your all-in-one entertainment box.
Right.
Not just for gaming, but for streaming music and your media. Netflix,
Thus,
Hulu.
Xbox One. One box.
Right.
I think that's why they chose that name.
I don't know.
Okay.
It's clear that this is the way the market is heading.
Right.
And it's something that you see Apple already have been doing, and they have a great head start on this. Mm-hmm. Apple TV is an example, but the model is tech companies don't want to carve out a niche and then dominate that niche anymore. They don't want to be, remember PDAs?
Yeah.
We make PDAs. We don't make anything else. We don't make cell phones. We don't make anything else. We only make PDAs. Or we make monitors. Not televisions, we make monitors. Now you're seeing tech companies want to have depth and breadth. They don't want to just dominate all of the products in a market, but every market segment that you could possibly go for.
Right.
Which is why, for example, the iPhone just came out with 2 different versions. One for the power users and one for dumb people who don't really know how to use it and can't afford the full version. That's really what it is. And you understand it because there are markets out there. And even though Android is still over 50% of the market, you are seeing companies go after each other. They want to completely saturate. Mm-hmm. And so what we're seeing now is, like I said, the Apple model. Apple and iCloud, what they want is a multitude of devices that can be used across situations, accessing the same data. I work with people who have a Mac desktop at home, a Mac laptop like an Air or a MacBook Pro, an iPad, and an iPhone.
Right.
And sure, they're covered technologically for any possible situation they could ever be in. And they're all accessing the same pooled data. They use Apple products, 4 different products, but it's all the same distributor, for music, movies, TV, gaming, and even books if you use your iPad as an e-reader.
Right.
And that's where the tech industry is heading. Complete saturation of everything you do that involves technology.
Well, obviously, this is a big spread for Steam to go from just an application on your Windows computer to being the thing that's running your computer. And that's kind of like they're kind of specializing into a niche. They're going to be the OS that's going to run your PC on your computer. Now, I just have a natural thing in me where I like kind of when someone kind of upturns the apple cart and says, well, you know, the old way's gone. We're doing something completely different. And it impresses me that Valve is going for this because it seems like a very expensive venture. Because they could have made Half-Life 3 and just made a bunch of money, in my opinion. Like, with very little effort. If they were just trying to make money, obviously they're trying to make money. But if that was their only goal, they could have just made Half-Life 3 and moved on.
Portal 3 and Team Fortress 3. I know what you're
saying. And Steam makes tons of money, and they don't release how much money they make, but I'm sure it's a ton. So to me, I feel like this isn't an attempt, because I've heard that developers kind of getting angry with Microsoft because they're trying to mimic Apple, like what you're saying, a little too much. Where they're kind of grabbing the reins and like, no, the future is this, and touch screens, and the future is interconnectivity between such and pads, and I think
change one thing on one device and it propagates almost immediately to all of your other devices.
Right, and I feel like that Valve might be saying, look, some people just want a platform to run games, and that's it, and they don't want all your garbage. So we're gonna run a clean, low taxing system. And that it's going to be able to run... And correct me if I'm wrong if you got the same impression. The impression I got was that it will basically be like a cloud within your own home. Like one PC will be able to stream through your network.
You'll be able to stream games through your primary... The sense I got from the information on the websites was such that each device won't be its own kind of standalone gaming device. They'll all act... There'll be like the distribution center in your own home will be one device that can kind of stream your gaming to other devices that you use.
Right.
And you can share games with your family members, and it's...
Which seems cool.
Yeah.
Because there's games like take Mark and the Ninja. That it would be great to be able just to be like, well, I don't want to play this game sitting in my computer. I want to go downstairs on my big screen and sit on a couch. Which a game like that does function well with a controller. So
it seems like what they want is gaming redundancy, so that you can still game no matter what device you're using.
Right.
If you want to do gaming on your phone, but you want to be able to access games and save game files that are stored on another device, you can.
Right. Yeah. I like it. Like, I think a lot of people who are like PC gamers. Look, I mean, like, as a PC elitist, I don't see this directly affecting me because most of my gaming is done right here.
Yeah, and one of the FAQs on the site is, if I just want to continue gaming using Steam on my computer, do I have to do any of this? And they said, no, you don't have to. This is a separate offering. We're not forcing you to move to this method.
Right. So interesting to me, like my own thoughts on it, is that even though this doesn't directly affect me, I still really like that they're doing it because I feel Microsoft has been a little too aggressive about how they think gaming should move forward. And now, if it takes off, I have no idea how successful it is. I'm not willing to say whether I think it'll be successful or not, but it just seems like now game developers might have another option where they're like, look, the stranglehold of Microsoft, and we just don't want to deal with their platform. We can make it for SteamOS.
Well, that's one thing about SteamOS that I think is interesting. It's not just because some vendors would want to create the platform and they want to own your platform, and you can use that platform to connect to the marketplace or several marketplaces. That's up to you. Other vendors might say, no, we're going to be the platform and the sole producer of content.
Right.
Where it's vertical integration like that. SteamOS is going to connect you to the independent developers. It's going to act like Steam now, where you have Steam Greenlight projects, you have indie developers who couldn't market their game any other way than digital distribution through
Right.
something like Steam. And so they want to be the platform, and they're not going. It doesn't sound like kind of like the Android marketplace, where it's anyone can post something, and it'll be the vessel through which you connect to that.
Right.
And so I think that is certainly is interesting. It reminds me, kind of like we're still globally still using IP version 4. Eventually we'll be switching to IPv6, and there's a concept in IPv6 called Anycast. And what it basically means is you have multiple devices that all share the same IP address, and when you Anycast towards one of those devices, it's more of you connect to the closest device that has that IP address. It seems to me like the assumption is that people are going to have multiple devices on which to game, and this is the most effective way to give them gaming as soon as possible on whatever device they can, so they can game wherever, whenever.
Right.
And because the assumption is now, and people, for example, when Diablo 3, it was announced that you'd have to be online all the time to play it, that in order to play, not necessarily cloud-based gaming, but gaming off of cloud-based data, like your user profile, your achievements, what have you, unless you can kind of play offline and then upload your achievements later, the assumption is you're going to have to be connected all the time.
Right.
And we, in the developed world, that is kind of a given. Broadband, we're always on. Parts of the middle of America aren't necessarily always on. They have fiber coming to them, but it's not.
Right.
So the assumption is always on, and that's the direction we're heading. Conceptually, I don't know if I like this, just because I'm not quite sure what it means just yet.
Right.
I'm skeptical of it. I for one do not need gaming everywhere. I like the fact that I have a dedicated PC. That's where I go to game, and when I step away from it, I'm not really thinking about where I can get my gaming fix other than from my computer. That's just me. I'm like the old codger, apparently,
Right.
in this scenario. One thing I'm wondering is, if you have multiple vendors who are each trying to be your all-in-one, not just gaming solution, entertainment solution,
Right.
they want to be able to have you stream your content, whatever it is. Are they going to play nice with each other? Am I going to be able to have SteamOS on my Steam box? And if you use the Microsoft boxes, are we going to be able to play against each other? Or is it going to be such that you can only play with those who are in the same fiefdom? I just want to know if there's going to be compatibility there, because I think the world has been moving and will continue to move toward, it doesn't matter which vendor you're with.
Right.
They have to play nice with each other.
Here's what I think. This is, to me, what I think is going to happen. And for all the details they give, I feel like it's still a little vague. I mean, am I wrong in that thinking, or does it seem that way to you too?
I think it is, but I think that's I say on purpose, because I don't think they have all the information yet. It does seem like they want feedback.
Right.
To make this, because that's one thing Valve, you can never accuse them of, is not caring about what people think of their brand.
Right.
And their products.
So the cool thing for me is, and again, I don't feel like it'll change my PC life that much, but what I do think will be cool is people who play console now, I think, have a hard time just acclimating to the idea of sitting at a desk. Well, I think that's one of the bigger things. Like, this should be in my living room on this giant television. Mm-hmm. Well, it's an entertainment
which we
piece.
concede is a major shortfall of PC gaming.
Right.
That if you want a big screen, you have to be pretty close to it.
Exactly.
You can play with a mouse and keyboard, and your screen can be far away, but the
or
conventional way you PC game.
It's kind of like an isolationist kind of thing. Mm-hmm. Like, you go upstairs, you go on the other side of the house into your room, and you play.
You don't go into your mother's basement, by the way. I'm sick and tired of that stereotype.
Right.
Even though I see plenty of guys who wear obvious gaming shirts, and they look like they just crawled out of their mom's basement.
Because they did.
Like the Keep Calm and Respawn shirts.
Anywho. I like the idea that it's a cool thing if someone comes into your house and you're playing on your big screen TV with some nifty looking controller, and you say, yeah, it's running off of a computer that's upstairs or on the other side of the house. Like, to me, that to me could kind of stun someone. Like, what do you mean it's running? Oh yeah, it's running over there and it goes anywhere I want. You know, that's pretty impressive.
Yeah.
And if this gives more business to hardware, PC hardware, because it's an interesting thing that people say PC is dying because they look at PC sales as a whole PC, but more people are building them. So you have kind of a lesser pool of people, but they're all a better pool of people. Right? Mm-hmm. So like Nvidia and ATI, they're still selling very well, but people aren't buying just pre-boxed PCs anymore. So it seems like people will be buying these pre-boxed PCs just in a different form, and then you'll also have enthusiasts like you and I who might just build one.
Mm-hmm.
So to me, it just seems like if there's more people interested in the hardware of PCs, and not necessarily like a pre-made console, even though they don't know particularly they're buying a PC or that they're entering that world, like you got to trick them into entering that world, that it's only better for us because there's more business being had, there's more commerce.
Yeah, I think the modularity and the fact that you can upgrade hardware if you want to is really interesting, and the fact that it's going toward the more open source route and opening it up to people who like to mod or who want to play around with the source code a little bit or do various things, kind of like the what is the Ouya.
Right.
I think it's an interesting...
That thing's still around?
Shut up. It's an interesting development, though, that are we trending more toward open source? And I think just broader technology, I work in IT, but I'm not like on the cutting edge of IT. I can't tell you what the market trends are,
right,
other than what I just read. But what I do know, for example, there will always be a group to varying in size that is not sophisticated enough to need all of that. If you can give someone a Steam box that is open source, that is packaged enough so that the casual gamer can use it to game, but open-ended enough that someone could use it to enhance their experience, that's great.
Right.
That's like a Minecraftian type toolbox almost, where
right,
it is exactly what you want it to be. But there will always be people who, there needs to be that distinction. And the analogy I thought of, basically at work, looking...
Now you're coming up with analogies?
Actually, it's not so much an analogy. Yeah, anyway. So for example, let's say you want to use a third-party vendor you have, and just... You'll see where I'm going with this.
Okay.
You want to use a third party to manage your networking or to house your servers offsite. It's called infrastructure as a service. You can use, they can manage a firewall for you to handle security for your devices. It's very expensive to have them do that, where there's a dedicated box and they have dedicated engineers who will manage it for you.
Right.
Or for free, you can use an open source software-based firewall. You just have to have the technical ability to manage it and know how to lock down your security, but it's completely free.
Right.
So there is always going to be that distinction between the gamer who wants that modularity and someone who just wants, give me the prepackaged box. I don't want to know how it works. I just want to be able to play it.
Right.
And I think that something like this could end up satisfying both, which would be pretty remarkable. Which in a PC, you can buy a pre-bundled gaming PC. It costs more. There's more overhead. You can make it for much less.
Right.
But you have to have that aptitude to
right,
be able to put it together. So I think, and that's where I think the PC offers that, whereas current and previous consoles did not.
Right.
You bought the package. There's nothing you could do to change it. And so it was a PC if you want to build your own stuff, console if you don't. Something like this could potentially accomplish both.
Right.
So that's what I'm interested to see.
Yeah, I think it will level the playing field a lot more. Where it's just like, well, your PC does everything. It does every job. It plays your living room. It plays your desk. It plays on a controller if you want. It plays any way you want to do it.
It doesn't play handheld.
No, it doesn't.
It does almost everything.
But who wants to play handheld games anyway?
You don't like the PlayStation Vita?
Cut the rope?
Shut up.
Anyway. So those are our thoughts on the OS and the Steam Box. We invite everyone to please put their thoughts below, especially if you disagree with us. Those are my favorite.
I disagree.
You disagree with us?
No, I disagree with that statement. My favorites are when they like us.
Oh, okay. And thumbs us up. Subscribe if you like the video. My name is Woodsie.
My name is Shepherd. This is the ThePCelitist signing out.